Órale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFP podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Martin. We are live on YouTube, Familia. It is Thursday afternoon, June 2nd. Estamos en junio, Familia. We are 3 months away from NFL action. I've seen the 100-day countdowns come through, so we're less than 100 days to the NFL and fantasy football, which means this is going to be the crazy season. Vamos a estar muy loco for fantasy football drafts. You know, best ball is going crazy. We talked to a couple of best ball amigos last week, and it's just nuts. So please make sure you're liking and subscribing us on YouTube. Por favor. It helps us out, and we're going to be here for you. There's going to be a lot of content coming out the next couple months, especially leading up to your NFL drafts. Your fantasy football drafts. Also, please make sure you're going to Fantasy Points. Fantasypoints.com. Let me drop this in there. Go to fantasypoints.com. And when you get a subscription, use the promo code Familia22. If you're doing it in Spanish, Familia22, get 10% off your subscription. And we got the NFL prospect guide on there. There's so much information to be gleaned from Greg Cosell. I mean, I'm still reading his rookie profiles. It's over 200 out there. They're still dropping out there. You got great content from John Hanson, Graham Barfield. His data dump, I'm telling you, Familia, is worth the price of admission alone. It's phenomenal. You got Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, Tom Brawley, Wes Huber. I mean, you got strength of schedule. You got everything, rankings. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. And on the prospect guide, you get it for $25. You get other subscriptions. Again, make sure Familia22, Familia22 when you use that promo code. All right. And so I'm going to get into it with our invitado de lujo, because this is a return guest. He's become, I consider him, a compadre, beyond amigo. A compadre is someone who I've been able to communicate with, who's been a confidant, who's been actually one of the campeones, one of the great champions of Familia FFB since, especially for the past year. He's done some great work for 32 and 32 football. And if you're looking for deep cuts, Familia, his Twitter handle, it's right here, Cruiser 128 is one of the greats. You're going to find so many deep cuts on there. Occasionally I'll see something that I'm like, oh my Dios mío, I have not seen that album in forever. So check him out. And obviously he's going to have great fantasy football insight, analysis, content. It's going to be coming out. This is that season where everything's coming up. So as I mentioned, he may be a NorCal native. So California, hey, shout out California, but he's an East Coast guy at heart. So while he may have a New York state of mind, we're going to have bienvenido to Dave Cruz, mi amigo. Dave, how are you?
Jorge, what is up, Romano?
Oh my goodness!
Great to be here. Thanks for the intro. I only hope I can prove worthy of your kind words.
Oh, you're more than worthy. Oh my goodness. Oh, I would say a quick hello. It's pool time until football time. Yes. We're gonna get plenty of pool time going out here, especially us in California. So
yeah. Well, some of us degenerates also play fantasy baseball. So yeah, we occupy ourselves until the NFL starts. I prefer to enjoy the spring and summer. Don't want to hurry fall along. I prefer the warmer months.
So hola to Mr. Scampers and Dame Overboard. Bienvenidos as always. Thank you so much for joining us. It's throw some questions in the chat. We're going to talk about we're going to talk a little bit about ADP in a little bit. But you're right about fantasy baseball, and it's a little bit interesting because this is a big weekend. We got a 4-game series just 30 miles down the road from me. Dodgers and Mets.
My boys are invading Chavez Ravine. So we'll see how that goes. I hope they treat you as well as the Pirates did.
Oh, let me get my broom out here. The Dodgers go 8-2 on a road trip and then come back and lose 3 in a row to the Pirates. That's why baseball. You just love baseball.
Yeah, you just cannot predict baseball. It's the worst team wins about 40% of their games. So.
I love it. It's so fun. But you know what? How are you feeling your Mets are way out there.
Yeah.
I think it's like over 10 games in first place.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the rest of the division to show up. I don't think anybody else is over 500 at this point.
So how you feeling with DeGrom and Scherzer still out and being so far out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard not to feel good about that. They're still playing well without both those guys. Who knows what we'll get out of DeGrom this year? I know he's feeling better. I know he's going to come back, but he's been fits and starts for the last 2 years. Scherzer coming back would be big. I mean, he's timeless. That guy. He's 37 now, and he's pitching as well as he's ever pitched. I mean, he just, see how long he can go on. And the hitting's been good. Alonso's been doing well. Lindor looks like he's finally getting used to the National League. And, look at Jay Wall. Jorge is the GOAT. Jay Wall's
right. Jay Wall is the GOAT of creativity, though, man. He's coming out with some great thumbnails for us. And
we love Jay.
Yeah. I love Jay. Jay, I can't. Oh, by the way, I just booked my flight in Canton. You better be out there. So I'm going to be out there. I can't wait. I can't wait to give you a big hug and buy you a beer. Dave, any chance we're going to see you out there?
Not this year. Things are a little tight, and but I'm going to try and get my act together for 2023. I mean, I have no problem believing this is going to be a juggernaut now. It's going to be pretty much as long as Bob Lung wants to do it, right?
Oh yeah, it's really good, and people keep saying, people were saying last year, any chance of moving it to Vegas, moving it somewhere closer to the middle of America, and Bob Lung just said, nope, it's here. It's
here.
So.
Yeah, so. You get to come to my place.
I will say I'm looking forward to seeing the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, it's something that's just sacred ground. I take it
you didn't go last year. Did not. No. Well, hey, sound like everybody had a great time out there.
I had major FOMO going on. I really had. I couldn't believe how much I was seeing the pictures and the videos and everything like that. I was just like, I was really wishing. Albert, bienvenido. Thank you for joining us. Major going on. But and speaking of goings on, I'm actually a little bit surprised at how this whole Tommy Pham Jock Peterson thing is. And this thing still has getting oxygen.
Yeah, nothing in the media does surprises me anymore. It's at the point where it's not reporting the news anymore. It's pretty much making the news. So sounds like Mike Trout may never be a fantasy football commissioner again.
Who wants to be commissioner? Who wants to be commissioner?
I've never been in a league where one dude slapped another dude before, so that's a pretty unique challenge. Tommy Pham seems like a fun guy, though, doesn't he?
Oh my goodness, it has just shocked me that it's got so much oxygen. It's still out there, and more stuff keeps coming out. But yeah, I mean, it shows how passionate these guys are, and I always knew the guys were very big into fantasy football. In my time spent with the Dodgers, I had many fantasy football conversations with players. I still remember one year I had to thank Chad Billingsley for recommending Stephen Ridley because it was the year he had a very good year for the Patriots, and I grabbed him like in the 6th or 7th round or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say there weren't a lot of those years for Stephen Ridley, but nice job.
It was just the one. It was but yeah, but you know what? So many guys love it. Throwing it out there, Adrian Gonzalez. I hoping to get you on sometime this summer. I know he's huge into fantasy football. These guys take it, but I mean I've been mad at people But the funny thing is I've been more mad at myself in fantasy football, starting the wrong guy or anything like that, but never, I don't think I've ever been in a league where I felt like somebody cheated.
No, I mean there are things that are over the line. I've been in leagues where people have tried to collude and things like that. But no, I've never really genuinely wanted. The closest is during the draft. When you got the guy that grinds the clock down to the end on every pick.
Yes,
that guy, I'm hoping gets punched. But yeah.
Shout out to my primo Hector, who we don't have a clock, but we're sitting there and like, like, Hector, have you picked yet? So shout out.
Well, yeah,
So,
I'm in a bunch of the Fantasy Cares Eliminator best ball drafts going on right now, and those are 6-hour clocks, and with those drafts go weeks. So
I just finished my 5th one, so
yeah,
just like a day or two ago.
Yeah, I've got three in the books that took about 2 weeks, and one that just went through the halfway turn after about a week and a half. So we'll see. That one I think might set a record.
Wow, that's and we know the Scott Fishbowl ones take a long time, so it's amazing. I will say, getting back to the Famine Jock Peterson story, Jock, I got to know Jock a little bit. He was in the minor leagues my last couple of years, but he was one of the top prospects. Tommy Lasorda absolutely adored him. God, Tommy, rest in peace. And what happened? I remember one time he had Jock in his breakout season at Single A baseball. He hit 3 home runs that season, and what happened was there was like a fight broke out later, after sometime later in that game, and I asked him what happened. And he said that when he was circling the bases, he kind of like laughed to himself and just kind of like thinking, this is ridiculous. I've never hit 3 home runs in a game. Yeah. The other team kind of took that like he was showing them up, like he was laughing at them.
That in itself is almost funny. It's everything in baseball is a slight. It seems like,
yes, that unwritten rule book.
You hear about the unwritten rules all the time, and it's like, okay, get a grip.
Exactly. You just say, just forget it. Just let it go. But what happened in that game, he got his next time up, instead of going for a 4th home run, they threw at him, and that just started a melee. But it's one of those things, like Jock is kind of like that guy who, and he admitted that he trolled the Padres for dropping out of the race last year. I mean, they were, and guys took it the wrong way, and obviously Tommy Pham took it the wrong way, and that was tough on him. I just Jock's kind of like a little bit of a goofball guy, but he's I never saw him as having any malice. I mean, just like the whole Pearls thing last year that caught on. It's just kind of like something goofy that took off. I mean, he used to have his walk-up song used to be Careless Whisper, because he let one of his teammates pick it, and Careless Whisper, he hit a home run, and so he kept that for the rest of the season. So it's like,
sure, who doesn't like George Michael?
R.I.P. Jorge Miguel. Oh my goodness. But mi amigo, let's jump into this a little bit, kind of like the theme of the show. First off, before we get into the theme of the show, congratulations on Ryan Fitzpatrick on a nice career. He definitely bled every bit of juice from the orange.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a guy that hung on for dear life like very few people ever have, right? A guy was a long shot coming out of Harvard in 2004, 7th round pick, played a couple of years for the Rams, didn't do a whole lot, and then he just kept signing with teams. But he played with 9 different teams.
Yeah.
He's and he ended up putting up some numbers. I saw one of the guys mention that he was like 32nd in yards, and for a career. And hey, good on him, man. I hope he made a lot of money and can retire in peace and quiet. It's too
Yeah, it
bad he
sounds
went
like.
out like he did, but good on him.
Yeah, I wanted to see it. I really was interested in what he was going to do in that with Washington last year. That I still think they would have been a better team. Their defense definitely let them down in the secondary, but I think he would have given them more chances in some of those shootouts. So Fitzmagic, we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say on the announcing side, on the broadcasting side. So salud, brother, salud.
Sure.
Well, now let's officially get into the show. Uh, you know, everybody's kind of getting the ADPs right now. Everybody's been doing dynasty drafts. Rookie rankings have been out there for a little bit. People are in the best ball, as you mentioned, charity eliminator, and we're gonna have the Scott Fish Bowl. So really, people rankings are starting to shape up a lot more. So I thought I'd kind of look and see. There's always players who kind of jump out and surprise and who people had no idea that they were going to be in the top 10. And so I thought it might be a good idea to kind of talk a little bit about the three main positions: quarterback, running back, and receiver. Tight end, that's going to be a whole other show where we're going to where I'm going to try and kind of decipher what the tight end landscape is going to be.
Once you get outside the top 5, it's a shuffle, right?
Yeah, flip a coin.
It's
a coin.
It's a playlist.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's major deep cuts when you get into some of those guys after the top 5. But on the quarterback side, it's kind of interesting. We got a top 10 rankings. I should have made a graphic to it, but we got I'll do real quick. We got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Tom Brady, and Russell Wilson. Solid group. But there's always guys that come up. I mean, last year there were Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow jumped into the top 10, not with Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson both having injury problems and coming out of the top 10. So, there's so much quality at the quarterback position, but and obviously it falls off if those year 2 quarterbacks don't take a step up. Please take a step up. Please get a step up. We need more quarterbacks, especially in Superflex. But is there a guy that you think that could jump into that top 10 and can make a little noise?
Well, I mean, to me, there's one that just sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't know why Matthew Stafford would fall outside of the top 10. He was 5th last year, and where are his opportunities going to be going away? I don't see that. I think he's going to be throwing at least as much as they did last year. Cam Akers is no sure bet. He's maybe a guy that could pop into the top 10, but he suffered a pretty devastating injury last year. And even though he came back, he didn't really look like himself, even in the playoffs. So, I think Stafford is kind of low-hanging fruit there. And if I had to pick a guy who people are starting to not talk about because rumors are floating around him, but to me, there's a guy that's a kind of a lock if he plays, and that's Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I
mean, there's no sure thing there. I mean, I don't know if you read Drew Davenport. He's the guy. He's the guy that I listen to on Twitter for legal opinions, and he's great. He does threads all the time, and he's done several on Watson. There's really nothing. The NFL has wrapped up their investigation, but there's been no word yet whether or not he's going to be suspended. But now the rumors are floating around. You've got a guy saying that he's going to be gone for the year. So you don't know. But to me, if he plays, he's top 10. He's not a problem.
Easily. I mean, he was I think he was number 7 in his last full year playing in 2020. I mean, he there's a reason why Cleveland has basically been over backwards to get him on their roster. And he's someone who is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL when he's playing. I mean, just from a football standpoint, I think so. I think I can't. I'm not. I'm going to leave Drew Davenport. I'm going to wait until I talk to someone from the Cleveland side. We had Mary Kay Cabot on last year. Hopefully, I'm going to start a beat writer series right after the mini camps happen. And
those were so good last year. I
hope
you're able to do them again. They were great to watch.
The plan is definitely the plan. The great thing is I've already established relationships with these people. So I'm going to make sure to go back to the well and be like, hey, you got another 20 to 30 minutes and let's do this. Yeah. That was the hardest part about it. Not the actual interviews themselves, was the actual finding people to do it. But that was great. Yeah. Mary Kay was fantastic. Off camera, gave me some great advice. Yeah. She's going to have everything. I've been following their Orange and Brown podcast a little bit to get some insight. But yeah, you're right. My guy that I'm going for is the guy that Jay Waller, when amigo, I asked him to put him in the graphic, is Aaron Rodgers. He's on the fantasy points ranking. He's number 12. Oh, by the way, on the players that you mentioned, Matthew Stafford is currently QB 13 in fantasy points preseason rankings, and Deshaun Watson is number 17. And number 12, Aaron Rodgers, who happens to be number 12 in real life, he's coming in. And the thing that I look at him is he was number 8 last year. He doesn't have a lot of rushing upside. But one thing, and staying in the fantasy points family, Graham Barfield just recently did a data dump that I mentioned. And one of the things that he mentioned was the games that Aaron Rodgers has had without Davante Adams. And we're not talking about before Davante Adams blew up. This is games since 2018. There have been 7 games. And these are the stats without Davante Adams: 68.2% completions, 292.7 passing yards per game. He had a TD rate of 7.9%. All of those numbers, yards per attempt, 8.7. All of those numbers were steps up from what he did with Adams. Granted, the sample size was much bigger. Sometimes I think in Spanish. The sample size was definitely much bigger on the games played, but it just shows you that Rodgers is not going to be, maybe he doesn't have an alpha dog, but I think he's still going to have guys that are going to be able to put numbers for him.
Yeah, of course. Davante Adams didn't make Aaron Rodgers. And we'll get a chance to see if Aaron Rodgers made Davante Adams. I don't think that's true either. And I think Adams probably went to as good a situation as he'd be, because he certainly got a simpatico quarterback in Las Vegas, his old college QB. So,
yeah, I think playing in that division, I think Adams is still going to have a really good season. The Carr is still, he's not there. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but he is still an NFL quarterback. He is still a top 10 NFL quarterback. And
sure.
He's, from a football standpoint,
he's another guy that could sneak into the top 10. Let's say Adams ignites that passing game, right?
Yep.
John Hanson, I personally wouldn't be surprised to see 300 targets between Adams and Waller.
Yeah, I would not be surprised that. And you still got Hunter Renfrow on there. So, sure. I mean, you got those. I mean, there are some great players. And the other thing is, the Raiders have beefed up their defensive line, but their secondary still looks a little vulnerable. I think there's going to be plenty of shootouts, and that's going to be an Avengers Civil War every week. And every week the AFC West is playing.
I hate to break it to you, they could probably have one of the steel curtain secondaries, and Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert is going to make them look a little bit vulnerable. So
a little bit, muy poquito. Muy poquito. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, those games are gonna be just knocked down. And yes, and I think because of that, I think Davante Adams is still gonna have value as a back end first round wide receiver, you can take a back end first round draft pick. I really think that's going to be very much in the future for him. But right now, let's talk about the future of running back position. So this is the most volatile position. I mean, last year there were, on the top 10, we had the players top 10 ADP. Extra consensus rankings at the end of the season. These are the 5 players who did not finish in the top 10: Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook just barely, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and Saquon Barkley. Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook both finished just outside of the top 10. The other 3 had injuries. They were replaced by Austin Ekeler, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, James Conner, and Damian Harris. I look at the rankings that we have this year. Those guys that I just mentioned are except for Connor, are in the top 10. Jonathan Taylor obviously is number 1. Najee Harris. You got McCaffrey back in there in the top 10. Cook is back in there. Joe Dolan, big time on him. Javonte Williams, number 6. That could be a little bit controversial. Alvin Kamara is in there, and and DeAndre Swift. So you've got these players. I mean, this is such as I mentioned, it's a volatile position. Who can you see that's outside of that top 10 that I talked about, who kind of jumps in?
Yeah, I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here with some Cowboy fans, because I know some of the guys that we speak with are big Tony Pollard stans, and to me, the low hanging fruit here is if he stays healthy, Elliott, easy top 10. It just, the opportunities to me will be there for him. Even last year, he was a top 10 back, and that was, playing on one leg. I don't see him going away yet this year. They've got too much invested in him. And to me, Elliott is the guy. Ezekiel Elliott is the guy that just kind of sticks out to me and says, I could definitely be a top 10 guy. Another guy, I don't know why James Conner would go away. I think the opportunities are going to be very similar, maybe even more so, with Chase Edmonds in Miami now. So those are a couple of guys I'm looking at. There are other guys I'd like to say, Aaron Jones. If he stays healthy, why he couldn't be a top 10 guy. But
that's another guy who does well when Devontae Adams isn't in the lineup.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not going to redo the entire top 10, but those are some of the guys I'm looking at that could pop in during the course of the year.
Alberto has a nice question. Do you think Leonard Fournette can finish top 10? I do.
I thought one of the rankings I saw had him already top 10.
That was last year. But he is just outside the top 10. He's number 12 in fantasy points rankings, just behind Aaron Jones.
Sure.
I don't see his volume going down,
especially in PPR leagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely an asset in the passing game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, he finished, with missing 3 games, he still finished as the top, as the number 11, and he had 13.3 fantasy points per game in standard scoring. So in PPR, he was much better in PPR. So he was, let's see, where were his final numbers? He was running back 6 last year. He averaged 18.3 fantasy points per game. He was the number 4 running back in PPR. Leonard Fournette, I mean, his attempts are going to be there. The target share. I mean, this is a guy his targets were way up there.
I've been hearing a lot how shallow the running back position is. I think it's not that shallow as much as it's changing. You've got fewer guys that are going to get 300 touches. But I think there's plenty of guys that are going to be getting in the 250 touch range. And I feel that way looking at the guys I looked at last night. It's just not going to be, you're not going to have a lot of Derrick Henrys, right?
No, it's going to be, it's a lot of split backfields. I think we're going to see more. I think teams are going to be going more to the San Francisco model with just, depth. I mean, I think Cleveland is a little more concentrated, where you've got Nick Chubb and you've got Kareem Hunt, where they kind of split the duties very much with them. But yeah, I look at those guys. They're two people that I respect a lot. Pat Fitzmaurice and Graham Barfield have both compared running back usage to starting pitchers in baseball. Mm-hmm. Where it used to be 300 innings was the
that hasn't been the case in a long time.
Yeah. And now it's now 200 innings.
The 30 complete game years are way in the past now.
So now what they're doing, they're throttling people back instead of trying to push those horses to make 33 starts at, throwing 7, 8, 9 innings. They want them to still make those 33 starts, but throwing 5, 6, and 7 innings. And I think that's what we're seeing with the running backs, to try and give them a little more longevity, at least try and get them to the playoffs that way. So I really think that's very much what's going to be happening. There's not going to be that many Jonathan Taylors and Derrick Henrys, which makes those guys really, really valuable when you get them. But there's very few. Very few. Najee Harris, another one. So those guys are very, very much. One guy that I really like a lot as a sneaky play to get into that top 10 could be David Montgomery, who last year he averaged 20.5 touches per game. That's receptions, as not just targets, receptions as well as rushing attempts. And that was number 8 in the league. So the opportunity is there. Now, it's a new coaching staff, but this coaching staff, the offensive coordinator came over from the Packers. So this is someone who knows how to utilize a backfield. You definitely utilize a running back who could catch the ball. Aaron Jones, you kind of look at his usage. You can look at David Montgomery being a guy who got 51 targets last year. I think he's going to go well past 1,000 yards if he gets 17 games in. He only played 14 last year. He had 225. I mean, this is one of those, bell cow, aka we call him lead caballos, and he in fantasy points, in the fantasy points rankings, he is where do we have him? Yeah, he's in the teens. So I'm looking that one up. He's number 16 right now.
Yeah, to me the thing that holds him back is that offense. I mean, they were a low scoring offense last year. I don't know that they're going to be that much better this year. But let's say they are. Let's say he gets a few more touchdowns. He's certainly more than capable with the opportunity share he has of being a top 10 back.
He's a guy I like very much as getting my second running back. Someone in the, in like the 4th round or something. It's that,
sure.
Kind of like the start of that running back dead zone. He's got a second running back, or if I'm playing super flex, I might even take a chance on him and have him be my starting running back. So it could be interesting. If I could really load up on quarterback and receiver in the first few rounds. And it's the other thing is it's his final year of his contract. So teams have a tendency to really, really put those guys to work. And I could see that being something where they put them to work and take a chance with somebody else next year.
Yeah. The Josh Jacobs people are out there saying they're going to absolutely burn him out and then send him packing. So, I mean, let's treat our players like cattle.
Exactly. I mean, the running backs are. I mean, it's a tough thing. It's such a tough position. I remember the old '70s Dandy Don Meredith. Mama, don't let your babies grow. He would sing, "Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys."
Sure.
Well, now it's mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be running backs. Make them receivers.
No thanks. That's right. That's the high paying job of the future.
Yep, get those guys out. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell is a guy who has talked about the fact that if he had it to do over again, he would have come in he would have stayed at wide receiver out there. But definitely a guy. The only question I have with him is, will Justin Fields his running, will it be a compliment or a threat to David Montgomery? I have a feeling it'll be more compliment than threat, because
Yeah,
I just
to me, that's a guy that needs to make a pretty good leap forward to make that team run better.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Khalil Herbert, he showed up well last year in a few games, but I think David Montgomery's the clear cut guy. And this is another one that I'm going to really, really try. These teams that have new coaching staffs, when I do this beat writer series, I want to really get into what they think about these guys, that how they're going to utilize these players. So very much, it's gonna be fun. All right, so the wide receivers, I think this is a position that did not have a lot of there was some deviance. I mean, when I looked at this, and you know what's funny, people don't make it easy to find expert consensus rankings from last year.
Yeah.
It's like they want to forget about those receipts, because I found one that had Allen Robinson at number 9. Just when you look at some of the guys, Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson was being drafted very early last year.
So early.
Yeah, and I mean, his year was a disaster.
Yeah,
he's gonna be an absolute steal this year.
That'll be in a future bounce back episode. I think he's going to be a guy that's going very late. I mean, Allen Robinson was a guy, and Calvin Ridley, who would have known that what happened with him was going to become such an issue. But other guys, DK Metcalf dropped out of the top 10. He was a guy who was really hyped up after his big breakout rookie year 2 season, but he came back down to earth with Russell Wilson missing some time. DeAndre Hopkins got hurt, was another one. AJ Brown was another one who missed some time. So there's some volatility there, and guys just came out of nowhere.
Everybody loves DK Metcalf and loves AJ Brown as theories. The problem is both those guys are on notorious running teams.
Yes.
So, they're both tremendous athletes. I love watching both of those guys play. But, they're not playing for the Chiefs. They're playing for, they're playing for the Seahawks. They're playing for the Titans and now the Eagles.
Yes.
I hear people like going, oh, AJ Brown's going to be turned loose now. And I'm going, you do understand that the Eagles were like one of the lowest passing teams in the league last year. Even when Jalen Hurts hangs onto the ball, he doesn't necessarily throw it. Right. So, unless there's a shift in philosophy there, I love AJ Brown as a possible guy that could step up into the top 10, but I don't think so. There's a guy that I think could easily crawl into the top 10. It's a guy that was already there last year in PPR. It's Deontay Johnson.
Yes.
I don't see a big shift in philosophy in Pittsburgh. And do I really think Mitchell Trubisky is going to be that much worse than the 2021 version of Ben Roethlisberger? I don't think I don't think he's going to get 170 targets again. But if he only gets 150, so what? The opportunity is going to be there. They just feed him the ball. The guy you're looking at, I love a lot too, and I'll let you have him. And there's one other guy. There was one other guy that we just mentioned that I thought Lilac is a possible dark horse top 10 guy, and that is Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's going to be playing with the best quarterback he's ever played with. Do I think Allen Robinson is worse than, say, Robert Woods or Odell Beckham? I don't. I think he's at least on a par, and I think in some cases he's probably better than either one of those guys. So,
and he's a guy, he did not have surgery. I always kind of look at that when I factor in guys who are I expect to bounce back. Are they coming off a surgery? That's why I really liked your Ezekiel Elliott, because he was able to heal without surgery. And so I look at Robinson. I mean, COVID knocked him out. Yes, Mr. Scampers by far with lots of R's that it's the best quarterback he's ever played with. It's a great, and you know what? It's 600 pass attempts. 600 pass attempts last year. 190 plus went to Cooper Kupp, but that still leaves 400 more pass attempts available.
Sure, so and you're talking about a team that runs way more plays than the Bears do. So I mean, to me, Allen Robinson's got a real good chance to sneak in there, and
playing in that high scoring division. The Rams, the defensive backs, the 49ers, as great a defense as they had last year, their defensive backs were beatable. And
same thing with the Seahawks. The Cardinals may have the toughest defensive backfield, but it's still not that great. So
it's not, it's not Steel Curtain. It's not Steel Curtain Steelers. So as you mentioned earlier,
right.
I look at that one. Robinson is a great pick. One guy that I'm looking at a lot to take a further step forward. He took a year or two leap last year, was Michael Pittman Jr. Going to he's the Indianapolis Colts. They've lost T.Y. Hilton. He's the clear-cut number one. He got 129 targets last year. Yes, this is a very balanced team that favors the run. Who wouldn't when you got Jonathan Taylor, the best running back in football? But he was last year with 129 targets, caught 88 of them for 1,082 yards and 6 touchdowns. He was the number 17 receiver. There's just not a lot of competition. I think right now a lot of people are looking at the wide receiver 2 option with them is either Alec Pierce or a perennially rehabbing Paris Campbell. Michael Pittman is the guy. And I mean, this is a guy, I think his targets could jump up to about 150 on the season. If he could get 150 targets on the season, that's like 9 plus. I think we're looking at, it's like high 8s, like 8.8 or something like that. And he did have 5 games where he had at least 10 targets last year. I look at him as being able to take a jump into that top 10 if somebody falls out because of injury or something like that, or he just comes in and takes the job from him. I'm really big fan of Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I love Michael Pittman, and I love Matt Ryan in Indianapolis. I think this isn't 2013 Matt Ryan, but still 2022 Matt Ryan is better than either 2021 Carson Wentz or 2020 Phillip Rivers. I think that team's passing offense is going to be pretty exciting. I actually like the tight end situation there as well.
Oh, and Mr. Scampers pointed out they have significantly fewer Nagy's in LA.
Yeah, well, they also have significantly fewer Nagy's in Chicago now as well. So,
you know what? I don't want to laugh. I don't want to laugh. It's
Nagy's been sent to live with Bartman. So.
Yeah, it's that's a tough one. That's a tough one. We've run through this actually much quicker than I thought we would. When you look at some of these guys, is there anybody else that you can see that's that could be jumping up from any position that we haven't talked about?
Actually, a guy I like as a dark horse candidate to get into the top 10 at the quarterback position is Trey Lance.
Yes.
If Trey Lance actually has the job, that's certainly a potent enough offense, and he offers, if nothing else, enough rushing upside to be one. I mean, do you consider him at this point? He may not be as good as Jalen Hurts, but I can't think he's much worse. So to me, if Trey Lance does have the job, if he does start week 1, I think he's certainly a dark horse candidate to be a top 10, at least a top 12 guy. Another
real quick. Can I give a shout out to one of our guests in the chat real quick? Manny Chakuba, talking sports with Manny. One of the amigos.
I love Manny. I read his tweets all the time, and I remember him doing one of your shows.
Yes,
I think for the football team, as they were known last year. Right. And so, hey, Manny,
great fantasy mind too, Manny. You are invited. So look for that invitation. We're going to be coming back with that insider series. I'm looking at you to give me, help me figure out what's going to happen with the Commanders. So, mi amigo, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. And again, thank you for that advice you gave me back almost a year ago. So, but I cut you off. I wanted to get Manny in there, but
that's quite all right. That's important. You have a quarterback you like.
You know what? I do, and it's he's been a little bit beleaguered a little bit in this offseason because of the additions to the wide receiver room. But Trevor Lawrence, I just think there's an air of stability that's coming into his team with Doug Peterson in there, a former NFL quarterback, successful Super Bowl winning head coach. I look at what he could do to kind of give him the platform to do well, to take a step up. And the big reason why I think he's going to do well is because of the rushing upside. And I think he's going to be able to run just enough to be on that tier and make improvement in the passing game. Again, he doesn't have a Devontae Adams. Christian Kirk is not going to be the guy. He's not coming in to be the savior, but you know what? It's more guys that are available to him. And Travis Etienne coming in and being a guy who's going to take some dump offs.
It's certainly hard to have less leadership than Urban Meyer provided.
Adios mío.
Yeah. So, I mean,
that was painful.
Trevor Lawrence is certainly a bold pick, but I hope for the kid's sake that, Doug Peterson provides some stability and some guidance, just if nothing else, how to be an NFL player, right? So.
He's already got the hair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Already got the hair. And we appreciate a good head of hair on the Familia FFP podcast, right?
Especially when your guests are
like, well, you got more than me. You got more than me. I just keep, I'm due for a little touch up here and there. Right. Oh my God. Mi amigo, we're coming up on grilling season. So this was not in the show notes. We're coming up on grilling season, and carne asada is one of my favorite things to grill. What are you looking forward to grilling? And is there a Mexican food that you love to put on the grill?
Oh, absolutely, carne asada. I mean, my initial exposure to authentic Mexican food was in Baja California.
Oh, yes.
In Ensenada. And I mean, we're talking, almost 40 years ago. And those are still the best fish tacos I ever had. There's nothing that compares to them up here. The marinades that they come up with are awesome. The carnitas, the carne asada, I mean, you just don't find that in a lot of places. There's a place in San Jose that's got about 3 restaurants. It's pretty close, but not quite. And again, the fish tacos, I know Bo.
Yes.
I know Bo brags that he can do fish tacos like they do in Ensenada. I would love to see that in person. As far as other grilling items, give me a good tri-tip. A pork shoulder. I know I've got a buddy that pretty much, I think he sleeps in his big green egg. So, he's a big fisherman. So he's up in Mendocino County looking for, salmon, tuna all the time. And he smokes a lot of that stuff. It's great.
Oh man! And you mentioned our amigo Bo McBrayer. I actually was up in Sacramento recently.
I remember seeing
Yeah,
the pictures of you guys
yeah,
together.
about a month ago, and it was a fantastic time. He took care of me like crazy, and actually, I'm gonna be his roommate in
In
Canton.
Canton?
Yeah,
Awesome.
him and Scott Simpson. So Mr. Nimble with numbers. It's gonna
Yep.
be. We're gonna
You
we're gonna have
guys are all Canton virgins this year. I
yes.
remember Bo and Scott got together in Northern California last year during.
Yep. So this year, yeah, Bo is renting an Airbnb. So we're gonna be having a great time. So it's gonna be ours is gonna be the hopefully the flop house for people, afterward, and just kind of like let's go back and sit, or just where we sleep, and the flop
Nice.
house is where.
Now I'm sorry I'm not going to be there.
Oh man, it's well, you know what? It's just it's gonna be more reason to get out there next year. So
Absolutely right.
oh, mi amigo, this has been fantastic. I mean, I always enjoy our interactions, whether it's live, whether it's via text, whether it's via phone. You have been one of my most valued friends, such a great supporter, and just someone who keeps me going. Reminds me to keep putting things out just because you're such a good friend. So I can't thank you enough for being out there.
You're way too kind. You are the one that does the work. I'm just here in the background cheering.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I appreciate the platform today. It's been a blast talking football and what little baseball we talked about.
We're gonna have some baseball talks over the weekend off air. So we're definitely gonna have some. So definitely, and everybody. In the chat, thank you to Dame, thank you for Manny, thank you for Mr. Scampers, Albert, J Wall, always for your artistry. I think I got everybody. Everybody.
Don't forget Manny.
Yeah, Manny. Oh yeah, Talking Sports with Manny. Follow his YouTube channel. He's fantastic. He is fantastic. So,
thanks everybody.
Definitely, and actually, let's kind of close up shop one more time, familia. When you go to fantasypoints.com, use the promo code familia22, familia22, get 10% off your subscription. Get that subscription. Also, special thank you to Anchor for putting our podcast out on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please go to familiafp.com. Got original content coming out there. And just make sure, Jorge Martin 17 on Twitter. Everywhere else, Familia FFP on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere you get it. Otra vez, thank you so much to our guests, Dave Cruz. And remember, everybody, todos somos familia. Salud.